Guys, here is the banned Bitcoin book. It was banned only 2 weeks ago. Okay, there's copies of this book for sale for $25,000. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's in it and why you need to pay attention to it. Because guys, when the US government bans a book, that's when you've got to read that book. Alright, so I'm going to try and break it down. I'm going to try and explain what this book is. It's called Softwar. It's a novel theory on the power projection and national strategic significance of Bitcoin. Alright, it was written by a guy called Major, alright, he's a military guy, Major Jason P. Lowery, and he works for United States Space Force. What a job, guys, alright? He works for the Space Force. So Jason wrote this book. This book went out, it was for sale. I bought a copy of it, I've read the book. And a fortnight ago, the US government says, holy shit, what's in that book? That is knowledge we do not want our adversaries finding out. The public cannot know that knowledge. Jason, you get that book off the shelves. So Amazon pulled it. You can't buy this book anymore. Alright? But Dinny has it. And Dinny's read it. And Dinny's going to tell you what it's all about. That sounds good. Hit the like button. Guys, the channel has been going viral over the last few weeks, which is awesome. So to anyone who's new here, welcome. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, throw a comment in, let us know who you are. Who am I? My name is Dinny Collins. I've been an entrepreneur. When I began my 30s, I lived in a caravan and I was flat broke. I decided to devote 10 years into understanding money and how to get rich because I was sick of being poor. And then before 40, I had the ability to retire early and it was absolutely awesome. And now I devote most of my time to teaching you guys how to do the same. So the book's called Power Projection. Now the world works, when I say the world, I should say the universe works. I'm going to try and keep this short and not waffle on too much. But the universe works in power projection. When we talk about stuff, we always bring it back to ourselves, humans, because we think, the world revolves around us. But the world doesn't revolve around us, and nor does the universe. We are less significant than a grain of sand on every beach in the world. Okay? But how we've came to be, has been through a process called projecting power. Okay? When it was single cell organisms and they decided to cooperate, they realized that two cells could project more power than one cell. And that's how cooperation and evolution basically began. Now, if you look at nature, you learn how the universe works. And if you look at humanity, you learn how the universe doesn't really work very well, okay? Because we defy reality. And that's why a lot of times, people go through unhappiness. Because a great saying that I was told before was, if you argue with reality, you will lose. Every single time. And that's something that I try and live my life by. Okay? Don't argue with reality. So, let's just take, for instance, wolves. Wolves are wild animals. We don't have pet wolves. Well, we actually do have pet wolves, okay? And I'm going to explain how. But wolves are wild animals, and they project power, okay? That's why the strongest, most vicious, most ferocious wolf is the leader of the pack. Most intelligent is the leader of the pack. And then you have a pecking order, okay? You'll see it in nature. There's always a pecking order. Because you should have your best asset controlling and looking after and leading the rest of the pack, okay? The rest of the community. And that's how nature survives, is through this process of power projection. And how the leader of that wolf pack came to be is he probably fought other wolves to get the dominance, all right? And that's fine. And that's perfect and it's beautiful. And if you want to see the opposite of power projection, well, humans, what they did is they got wolves and they were like, oh, they're nice yolks. And they bred them and bred them and bred them over tens of thousands of years. And some of the wolves, the ones that were more docile and less aggressive and less angry, okay, they bred them. And the ones that were really angry and they couldn't train or were dangerous, they didn't breed them. So they bred the aggression out of the animal, okay, for tens of thousands of years. And now we have dogs. So we had wolves, now we have dogs. Okay? Now when you notice a dog can't survive in the wild. Most dogs, they're domesticated. They can't survive in the wild. Because why? They don't have the aggression. They don't have the anger. They're not able to project enough power. Okay? To cooperate and actually survive in the wild. Now obviously you can find 1%ers in there, as with everything. But the basic analogy stands. It's the exact same with cows. Where do cows come from? Cows used to be a wild wildebeest animal. Not a wildebeest, can't remember what you call them. Okay, like a wild ox. But we took the aggressive ones and we slaughtered them, and then we took the docile ones and we bred them, and we've done that for tens of thousands of years. And now we have cattle. They're big dumb animals and they just stand there in the field. They'll eat, they'll get fat, and then we put a bullet in their head and we get to eat them. And there's no aggression from them. They're easy to coerce, they're easy to round up, and if you want to see the opposite of that, okay, take a lion. There's a reason why we don't know what the taste of lion is. why we don't eat lion. Why? Because they're a ferocious animal. They're super powerful, and humans are still afraid of them. Okay, so we weren't able to breed the aggression out of the lions, so that's why you don't know what lion tastes like, and you do know what cow tastes like. Okay, so it's all about projecting power, and the more effectively you can project power, all right, it's just the law of the universe, and no one can argue with this, because projecting power is above the law. I've said to you guys before, Bitcoin's above the law. It is. Code is above law. It sits above law. We've done that in loads of other videos. But power projection also sits above the law. All right? You can put all the rules you want. You can put on the wigs and we go and we play the game of the court and the law. But it's all just a game. It's arbitrary, okay? It's abstract. There's nothing there that... And you've seen that happen. You've seen it happen with everything that's happened in Russia over the last year and a bit, okay? It's against the law, what Russia did. But because they could project more power, they're above the law, okay? Because power projection is above law. Law is only a made-up human construct, okay? So aggression is everywhere. You know, there's a saying that business is like war without bullets. And it's true, like, if you're a little walkover person, you know, and you let people walk all over you, you've no drive, you don't realise that for you've got to beat your competition and business is war. Well, you're not going to build a good company if you get walked all over. You'll never see a good boss who runs a good company who's a walkover, who people just ring up, I'm not coming in today. Oh, okay, that's fine, don't come in today. It doesn't happen. Okay, the cream rises to the top, and there's a reason why the most successful people on the planet are those who have the natural ability of humans. The wokeness hasn't got a hold of them yet, okay? Because they have aggression, and aggression is basically the precursor to power projection. And an example of that is, because projecting power is the last thing you want to do. All right, now I'll go back to the wolf analogy, and hit the like button if you're learning. And this is pretty abstract thesis, so you might find it difficult to comprehend, and perhaps I'm only learning in how to explain it better, and just exploring the thesis as well. But if we take it back to the wolf analogy, okay, and they're trying to decide who's dominant, who's going to lead this pack, who's going to control the pack, who's going to be the alpha male, who's going to get to eat first, okay, who's going to get a choice of all the women, wolves, all right? It goes down projecting power. And let's say there's two wolves and they're projecting power at each other, all right, and they both think they're the dominant male, all right? Well, they're going to snarl at each other, they're going to do a little dance, they're going to walk around, okay, and engaging in physical conduct or physical violence is the last thing they want to do, okay? Because intrinsically, every animal understands, even humans, that's why you don't want to kill another human, because it's in us all, okay? That if the wolves attack each other, now they're both weaker, and now they're susceptible to a third party coming in, projecting power and taking out both of them. So that's why differences will always try to be settled with power projection without physical combat, alright? But if it comes to physical combat, it's always settled, it's whoever has the most power wins. Okay, so power projection is how the world works. Now humans, because we've got our little brains here and we understood how to conquer fire, okay, and we understood how to increase our calories so that our brains could grow, we've now scaled our power projection means where it will be suicide to power project against each other, okay? And you can imagine that. If I have a gun, I can project more power than you if you don't, okay, because a gun projects more power. If someone has a machine gun and I only have a pistol, well, they can project more power than me. They'll probably win that fight. But now we've scaled to nuclear weapons. And nuclear weapons means that if two nuclear superpowers go at each other and try and project power, it's suicide. It's game over for the whole world. So we've scaled, and remember, power projection has happened since the universe came to be, and it possibly happened before the universe came to be. It's just a law of the universe, it's physical power projection. But humans have scaled our power projection means that a game that's been as old as time itself, now we can't play that game anymore. So how do we settle what would be called the state and chain of custody of the property? How do we settle who owns what? Well, at the minute, we're a bit confused, and we do it through law. And law doesn't work because we've seen everything that happened with Russia. It was against the law. It didn't stop Russia invading Ukraine. It didn't stop that war because Russia simply had the power and they decided to project their power. Okay, but physical power is suicide. I want to take you to the analogy that I use all the time. We had physical music, CDs, records, tapes. Now we have digital music. We had physical storage, filing cabinets. Okay, warehouses full of files. Now we have the cloud. All right, so we digitize everything. We have physical power projection. Okay, where we use nukes or machine guns or physical violence, whatever it happens to be, you know, look at nature. Nature is so violent, okay? And the vegans won't appreciate that because they don't know how the world works. But if it wasn't for the violence of nature, you wouldn't be here today. And if you try and take away the violence of nature, there will be no such thing as nature in the future. There will be no such thing as a planet, okay? Because nature is brutal and violent, and just because us as humans think, oh, that's right and that's wrong, but we're arguing with reality with those thoughts, because nature being violent, the fact that animals eat other animals, and that is how the universe comes to be, is it's beyond what we think is right or wrong, and we must understand that. And it can be very difficult. It's a stretch too far for a lot of people. And that's okay and that's fine. Not everyone has to get this. And that's the same reason why not everyone's going to be a top CEO. Not everyone can do it, okay? So we've digitized loads of our other ways of things in the world, okay? We've collapsed them into digital form. And now we have this, now we have Bitcoin, okay? And what Bitcoin does is it connects the physical world to the digital world. So now we have means, by projecting power digitally, to basically have a wall or an army, whatever way you want to think about it, to project enough power digitally to protect property. Because that's what Bitcoin does, okay? And that's why that book's being banned. Because the United States military are after looking at that and going, shit, if this is right, we do not want our adversaries finding out about this, because we will need to get Bitcoin. Because if they get Bitcoin, we're going to be in trouble. And it's dead on true, okay? And that's why the book is pulled from the shelves, and that's why they don't want you to read it. Because what if Bitcoin is the transition, okay, from physical power projection to digital power projection? All right? And I already know that Bitcoin is the transition from physical store of value and property to digital store of value and property. But this is just another means, another thesis, another theory, that if Bitcoin is this, and instead of having hard war, okay, where we fire bullets and nukes at each other, we use a form of soft war, where it's digital warfare, okay, and it's done in the cyber world, where all the same rules apply. And don't forget, the difference between Bitcoin and every other crypto asset out there is the connection to the real world. Bitcoin's backed by energy, okay? So to go to war, you need energy. That's how we ended up on fiat money, because it doesn't work on a gold standard. You can't print money, okay? And that's why the country with the most energy is generally the country that can win the war. It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting thesis. Love to hear your thoughts on it, but watts are watts. It doesn't matter if they're the watts coming out of a gun, using a lever. You know, if you develop power, a watt is a watt is a watt. It doesn't matter whether it's digitally or physically, okay? Because in the digital world, with an A6 miner, you're projecting watts of power, okay? And with a machine gun, you're projecting watts of power. But the beauty of moving away from kinetic warfare, because kinetic warfare is suicide. It's suicide. Superpowers can't settle the state and chain of custody through kinetic warfare, because humans have scaled their technologies too much. But we can settle it through cyber war. So we can still play the game. We get to play the game that we've played since before time began, but it's not suicide. And my thesis is that we move into that game. And I think that's the thesis of the US government. All right, now remember, government's is the most inefficient machine in the world. So that doesn't mean US government are going to buy Bitcoin tomorrow. It just means one department has said, oh, there's something here, pull that book. You've got an asymmetric opportunity to study this thing, understand this thing. As I say, study Bitcoin. It will help you retire early. If you want to learn how, like this channel, follow this channel, put a comment in, add a question. And if you want me to do it all for you, book in for consultation. Go on to bitcoinwithdinny.com. Guys, have a super day. For now, Dinny out.